Picture two apartments. Same building, same floor plan, same rent. The first apartment belongs to someone pulling in $95,000 a year. Walk inside, and you're greeted by a 75-inch television that takes up an entire wall, a leather sectional that cost more than some people's cars, a kitchen full of appliances, most still sitting in their original boxes because there wasn't room in the cabinets, closets bursting with clothes, many with price tags dangling like forgotten promises, a spare bedroom that hasn't seen a guest in years. It's a storage unit for things that haven't been touched since they were bought. This person checks their bank account with a knot twisting in their stomach. 2 missed paychecks. That's all it would take. 2 missed paychecks, and the whole thing crumbles. Now picture the second apartment. Same building, same floor plan, same rent. But this one belongs to someone earning $52,000 a year. Walk inside, and the first thing you notice is space. A comfortable couch, nothing fancy, but it's perfect for curling up on. A television that's big enough without being ridiculous. A kitchen with exactly the tools that actually get used. The good knife, the reliable pan, the coffee maker that starts every morning. A closet with clothes that get worn, loved, and eventually replaced when they wear out. And that spare bedroom, it's actually a bedroom. Sometimes for guests, sometimes for hobbies, always for peace of mind. This person checks their bank account and feels calm. Not fake calm, not I'll figure it out calm, real calm. They have 18 months of expenses sitting there. They invest 20% of every paycheck without thinking about it. They could lose their job tomorrow and still sleep fine tonight. Same building, same rent. The person earning almost half as much has nearly 10 times the financial security. Here's what I want you to understand. This is not a story about income. This is a story about something most people never figure out, the hidden relationship between the things you own and the money you keep. The first person isn't bad with money. They're not gambling it away. They don't have some expensive addiction. They just drifted. Slowly, quietly, they built a lifestyle that requires every single dollar they earn just to keep the lights on and the stuff from falling apart. They're a high earner walking a tightrope with no net underneath. The second person figured something out. They discovered that owning less doesn't mean having less. It means living with intention. And when you live with intention, you create a financial cushion that most high earners will never experience, no matter how much money they make. Today, I'm walking you through the minimalist money rules. These aren't about deprivation. They're not about living like a monk or wearing the same gray t-shirt every day. They're about clarity. They're about understanding that every single thing you own has a cost you've probably never calculated. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let's start with a concept that will change how you look at everything you own for the rest of your life. Part 1. The hidden cost of everything. Everything you own costs you money twice. The first cost is obvious. It's the price tag, the $4,000 for the couch, the $1,200 for the phone, the $80,000 for the car. You swipe the card, you sign the papers, and you think that's it. You paid for it, now you own it. But there's a second cost, a silent ongoing tax that most people never account for. And here's the part that hurts. Over time, this second cost is often larger than the first. Let me break down what's actually in that second cost. First, space. That treadmill you bought in January, the one that was going to change everything, where is it right now? If you're like most people, it's holding your laundry, maybe some boxes, definitely some dust. That treadmill takes up about 20 square feet of your home. In most cities, that space costs you somewhere between $30 and $50 per square foot every single year in rent. Do the math. 20 square feet times $40. That's $800 annually just to store a treadmill that's functioning as an expensive clothes rack. You're paying rent on things you don't even use. Second, maintenance. Think about the boat sitting in your neighbor's driveway, or maybe it's your driveway. That boat needs insurance, it needs registration, it needs winterization if you live anywhere with real seasons. It needs repairs, whether you took it out on the water this year or not. The rule of thumb in the boating world is 10% of the boat's value per year in maintenance. A $30,000 boat costs you $3,000 annually just to exist. That's $250 a month for something that might get used 6 times a year. And it's not just boats. It's cars, it's second homes, it's cools, it's hot tubs, it's motorcycles. It's everything with an engine or a filter or a moving part. Third, mental energy. This one's sneakier. Every item you own occupies a tiny slice of your attention. It needs to be cleaned, it needs to be organized, it needs insurance, worried about, moved around, and eventually, when you're finally done with it, disposed of. Researchers have actually studied this. They found that visual clutter raises cortisol levels. Your stress hormone literally goes up when you're surrounded by too much stuff. Your brain has to process everything in your field of vision, and when there's too much, it never gets a break. You're paying for your stuff with your peace of mind, and you probably didn't even realize it. Fourth, opportunity cost. This is the biggest one. This is the one that keeps me up at night when I think about how most people handle money. Every dollar locked up in a possession is a dollar not working for you. That $15,000 home gym setup in your basement, that's $15,000 that could be in an index fund. In 15 years, at a conservative return, that's over $40,000. In 25 years, it's pushing $70,000. You didn't just buy a home gym, you bought a home gym instead of a piece of your own financial freedom, instead of retiring earlier, instead of having options. When you add all these up, space, maintenance, mental energy, and opportunity, many possessions cost more to own than they cost to buy. The price tag is just the entry fee. The real cost comes every single day you keep them. A minimalist understands this, not because they're somehow smarter than everyone else, not because they hate nice things, but because they've done the math. They've looked at what their stuff actually costs them, and they've realized that most of it simply isn't worth it. That understanding leads to rules. Rules that separate people who always have money from people who never do, regardless of what they earn. Let's go through them. Rule 1. Calculate cost per use. Before you buy anything, ask yourself one question. How many times will I realistically use this? Take the total cost, divide it by that number. What you get is your cost per use, and that number is the only honest measure of whether something is worth buying. A $200 jacket that you wear twice is $100 per wear. That's insane! You just paid $100 each time you wore that jacket. A $400 jacket that you wear 200 times over 5 years, that's $2 per wear. The expensive jacket is actually the smarter buy. It's cheaper and the only metric that matters. A $2,000 mattress that you sleep on every single night for 10 years, that's 55 cents per night. 55 cents for 8 hours of sleep that affects your health, your energy, your mood, your entire next day. That's not an expense. That's an investment. Cost per use destroys impulse purchases. It cuts through the marketing, the social pressure, the treat-yourself mentality, and shows you the truth. Most things aren't worth what you're paying for them, not because the price tag is too high, but because you won't use them enough. Rule 2. The replacement test. Go through your home, look at everything you own, and ask yourself a brutally honest question. If this item disappeared tonight, would I spend money to replace it tomorrow? Would you replace that bread maker gathering dust in the corner? Would you buy those jeans again that you haven't worn in 18 months? Would you buy another fondue set? For most of what you own, the honest answer is no. You wouldn't replace it. It exists in your life through inertia, not intention. It was an impulse buy, a gift you felt guilty getting rid of, or a remnant of a hobby you don't have anymore. These items aren't neutral. They're not just sitting there harmless. They're costing you space. They're costing you mental energy. They're costing you the time you spend cleaning around them or moving them to get to something else. If you wouldn't replace it, get rid of it. Sell what you can. Donate what someone else could use. Trash what's truly garbage. The weight that lifts off you when you clear out things you don't want is genuinely surprising. Rooms feel bigger, decisions feel simpler. Cleaning takes half the time. You know where everything is because everything that remains has a purpose. Rule 3. Never upgrade out of boredom. This is the trap that keeps high earners poor. Their phone works perfectly, but the new one has a slightly better camera. Their car runs fine, but the lease is ending and there's a new model. Their TV looks great, but the store down the street has one with better contrast. Their furniture's comfortable, but they've just gotten tired of looking at it. These upgrades feel like improvements. They're not. They're wealth destruction wearing a mask.
Minimalists have a simple policy. Never replace something that functions perfectly. Your phone works until it doesn't. Your car is reliable until it's not. Boredom is not a reason to spend money. The existence of a newer version is not a reason to replace something that still serves its purpose. Over a lifetime, this one rule saves hundreds of thousands of dollars. The average person replaces their phone every 2 to 3 years. Over 30 years, that's 10 to 15 phones, each costing anywhere from $800 to $1,200. That's $12,000 to $18,000 just on phones. And that's before you factor in cases, screen protectors, and all the accessories. Apply that same thinking to cars, computers, televisions, furniture, and appliances, and the numbers get staggering. Rule 4. Create friction for spending and ease for saving. Humans follow the path of least resistance. If spending is easy, you'll spend. If saving is easy, you'll save. It's that simple. Minimalists design their environment to make the right choice the easy choice. Spending friction. Remove saved credit cards from every website.
Institute a 24-hour waiting rule for any non-essential purchase. If you still want it tomorrow, you can buy it then. Most things, you won't. Delete shopping apps from your phone. Every tap matters. Make yourself open a browser and log in. Unsubscribe from promotional emails. You can't be tempted by what you don't see. Saving ease. Automate your investments. Set up transfers that happen the day you get paid before you ever see the money in your checking account. Treat savings like a fixed expense. Same as rent, same as utilities. It's not optional. It's not what's left over. It's the first bill you pay. Keep only what you need for regular expenses in your checking account. If the money's not visible, you won't spend it. Willpower is unreliable. Willpower runs out. Willpower fails when you're tired or stressed or hungry. Systems don't fail. A 24-hour waiting rule alone will eliminate 70% of impulse purchases. The desire for most things evaporates within a day if you don't act on it immediately. Rule 5. Count your possessions. This sounds obsessive. I know it does. But counting forces awareness, and awareness prevents accumulation. Pick a category. Any category. Count how many you own. Write it down. How many shirts do you actually have? Most people guess low. They think maybe 20, 30. Then they count and discover it's 60, 70, 80. Things accumulate silently. How many pairs of shoes? How many kitchen gadgets? How many books you'll never read again? How many items in that drawer everyone has? The junk drawer where random things go to die. The number itself changes behavior. Once you know you own 47 shirts, buying another one feels different. You're not just getting a shirt, you're adding to a collection of 48. The absurdity becomes visible. Set limits for yourself. Maybe it's 30 items of clothing total. Maybe it's 15 books at any given time. Maybe it's a one-in, one-out policy. Anything new means something old has to go. Limits prevent lifestyle creep. Without them, possessions expand to fill whatever space you have. With them, every addition requires a conscious decision about what it's replacing. That friction alone cuts accumulation dramatically. Rule 6. Rent or borrow before you buy. Most things people buy get used intensely for a short period and then never again. The excitement fades, the novelty wears off. The item joins the collection of things owned but rarely touched. Minimalists test this pattern before committing to ownership. Want to get into camping? Rent equipment for the first few trips. Want to try woodworking? Borrow tools from a friend or use a community workshop. Want a kayak? Rent one several times before you buy. This approach does two things. First, it reveals whether the interest is real or temporary. Lots of interests fade after the initial exploration. It's better to discover that while renting than after spending $800 on gear that will gather dust. Second, it teaches you what you actually need. First-time campers almost always buy too much or buy the wrong things. Renting lets you learn before you commit. When you finally do purchase, you buy exactly what's necessary, not what some marketing department convinced you to buy. The buy-first mentality costs people enormously.
Garages and basements across the country are full of abandoned hobbies. Ski equipment from the winter someone thought they'd ski every weekend. Photography gear from the phase when someone imagined becoming a serious photographer. Musical instruments from bands that played exactly 2 shows. Don't become a museum of your past enthusiasms. Test before you invest. Rule 7. Understand the lifestyle multiplier. No purchase exists alone. Every possession connects to other possessions. A boat needs a trailer. A trailer needs a hitch-equipped vehicle. That vehicle might need a bigger garage. The boat needs storage when you're not using it. It needs maintenance supplies. It needs safety equipment. It needs appropriate clothing. It needs insurance. A purchase that seems singular actually triggers a cascade of supporting purchases. This is the lifestyle multiplier. Watch how it plays out with common purchases. A home gym requires flooring, mirrors, storage solutions, ventilation, and often renovations to make the space work. A pool requires chemicals, cleaning equipment, covers, furniture, higher insurance, and often landscaping. A motorcycle requires gear, special storage, maintenance tools, and sometimes a truck for transportation. Minimalists calculate the full ecosystem cost before any major purchase. They know that a $5,000 purchase might actually represent $8,000 or $12,000 once all the multiplier expenses are included. That full accounting often transforms what seemed reasonable into something clearly excessive. The multiplier works in reverse, too. Getting rid of one major possession often eliminates an entire category of related expenses. Sell the boat, and suddenly you're not paying for storage, insurance, registration, maintenance, and towing anymore. The savings go far beyond the value of the item itself. Rule 8. Define enough before you start earning. This is the trap that catches high earners more than anyone else. They never define what enough looks like, so they keep buying more without ever arriving at satisfaction. Their income increases, so they upgrade their lifestyle. The new lifestyle becomes normal, so they need another income increase to feel like they're making progress. This cycle never ends. People earning $300,000 feel just as financially stressed as people earning $80,000 because their expectations and expenses expanded right alongside their income. Minimalists break this cycle by defining enough first. They decide in advance what kind of home is sufficient, what kind of car actually meets their needs, what level of material comfort constitutes genuine satisfaction. Then they earn towards that target instead of constantly moving the goalpost. This might mean deciding that a $350,000 home is enough even if you could eventually afford $700,000. It might mean deciding that a $30,000 car is enough even when your colleagues drive $70,000 vehicles. It might mean deciding that your current wardrobe is enough, even as your income could support constant upgrades. Defining enough creates a finish line. Without it, you're running an endless race where lifestyle expansion always outpaces income growth. With it, you reach a point where additional income flows entirely to saving and investing instead of consumption. The person who defined enough at $60,000 of annual spending and then starts earning $150,000 builds wealth at an extraordinary rate. That $90,000 gap goes straight to financial freedom. Meanwhile, someone earning the same $150,000 but constantly redefining enough upward might save almost nothing. Rule 9. Measure wealth by optionality, not accumulation. The conventional view measures wealth by what you have: houses, cars, possessions, visible markers of success. Minimalists measure wealth differently. They measure it by what they can choose. Can you leave a job that's destroying your mental health? Can you take 6 months off to handle a family emergency? Can you move to a new city for a relationship? Can you start a business without a guaranteed income? Can you say no to opportunities that pay well but compromise your values? Those options are real wealth, and they're only available to people who've built substantial margin between their income and their expenses. The person earning $200,000 but spending $195,000 has almost no optionality. They're chained to their income. They can't take risks. They can't make choices based on what they actually want, not what they're forced to do. They're a slave to their next paycheck. The person earning $80,000 but spending $45,000 has extraordinary optionality. They can absorb disruptions. They can take calculated risks. They can make decisions based on what they actually want, not what they're forced to do. Minimalists understand that optionality requires liquid resources more than physical possessions. The money tied up in a car you don't need is money that can't buy your freedom when you need it. The equity locked in Access House is equity that can't fund a career transition or extended sabbatical. This perspective transforms spending decisions. Every purchase isn't just exchanging money for an object, it's trading optionality for possession. Is this item really worth reducing your ability to make free choices about your life? Sometimes yes, often no. Rule 9. Practice cyclical decluttering. Most people who attempt minimalism do one massive purge. They feel great for a few weeks, then slowly, gradually, they accumulate back to where they started. The purge felt productive. The reaccumulation went unnoticed. Within 2 years, they're right back where they began. Minimalists avoid this through cyclical decluttering. Instead of annual massive purges, they do small, regular reviews. A weekly glance at what's coming in. A monthly evaluation of one category. Maybe clothes this month, kitchen stuff next. A quarterly check on overall accumulation trends. This cyclical approach catches accumulation early, before it rebuilds to overwhelming levels. Removing 3 items per week is manageable and sustainable. Removing 300 items once a year feels overwhelming and gets postponed indefinitely. The cyclical approach also maintains awareness. When you evaluate your possessions regularly, you notice patterns. You see which categories tend to grow. You identify which emotional states trigger buying. You recognize which marketing tactics work on you specifically. This awareness enables prevention instead of just treatment. Conclusion: the virtuous cycle. Here's what nobody tells you about minimalism and money. The relationship works both ways.
Owning less frees up more money, but having more money also makes owning less feel natural. When your savings account is solid and your investments are growing, the urge to accumulate diminishes. The psychological needs that drive most consumption, the need for security, the need for status, get satisfied by your financial strength instead of by physical possessions. You don't need the stuff to feel successful because your bank account already tells you the story you want to hear. This creates a virtuous cycle. Spend less, save more. Save more, feel secure. Feel secure, less desire to spend. Less desire to spend, save even more. Each turn of the cycle reinforces the next. The opposite cycle is equally powerful but destructive. Spend everything, feel insecure. Insecurity drives more spending as temporary emotional relief. More spending deepens insecurity. The cycle continues until something breaks. The choice between these cycles determines your financial trajectory more than your income ever could. High earners in the destructive cycle build nothing. Modest earners in the virtuous cycle build everything. The rules I've laid out aren't about suffering. They're not about deprivation. They're about recognizing that most consumption doesn't actually improve your life. Research consistently shows that beyond a baseline of security and comfort, additional purchases contribute almost nothing to well-being. Yet, most people spend as if happiness scales linearly with spending. Minimalists align their behavior with reality. They spend enough to be comfortable. They redirect everything else toward freedom instead of accumulation. They end up with less stuff and more life. Remember those 2 apartments from the beginning? The first one, the $95,000 earner with the massive TV and the overflowing closets and the knot in their stomach, that's someone who never questioned the assumption that more stuff equals better life. The second one, the $52,000 earner with the space and the calm and the 18 months of savings, that's someone applying these rules consistently, not through exceptional income, through exceptional clarity about what actually matters. Both lifestyles are available to you regardless of what you currently earn. The choice is simple. Do you want to own your possessions, or do you want your possessions to own you? The math is clear. The peace of mind is real. And the only thing standing between you and that second apartment is understanding that every object you own either adds to your life or subtracts from it.
Choose wisely.